Yo, what's up, guys? I'll be on in just a second. What up, fam? How is your night going? Who is GFX? Hopefully you're chilling, you know? Hey, what's up, guys? Appreciate you hanging along. Just having some technical difficulties. I will be on in just a few minutes, okay? Thank you guys for your patience. What's up, guys? Jordan here with J Angel Visuals. And have you ever guys wanted to kind of know how to give me 1 second. Of course my audio's messed up, but have you guys ever wanted to know how to color correct and color grade footage as far as like 8-bit, 10-bit, 16-bit red raw footage, really any kind of footage, just because of course I think color is like such a drastic part of what makes video. Today I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to actually do that with a variety of cameras. I have some like Panasonic GH5 footage, some Sony S-Log3 footage, some Red 16-bit RAW footage, and I think some maybe Sony A7R4 footage, but if not, I'll see if I have that and I can kind of go through that with you guys too. But if you guys have any questions throughout this live stream, feel free to ask. I will be here to answer pretty much any questions you guys have. That way we can hopefully overcome, I don't know, color grading in DaVinci Resolve, because this was a big game changer for me. Learning this stuff in here helped me open up the game on how I actually color everything and like how my work is actually seen. So let's go ahead and actually get switched over to the editing view. Give me 1 second. Let's switch this. All right, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and take this. Let's get that music back going again. And if you guys can hear the music in the background, if it's too distracting, just let me know. Just trying to get some vibes going, at least somewhat. Damn, and that's just loud. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the edit page. I am on DaVinci Resolve 20. I'm gonna go ahead and actually start with, let's see. So we have, I don't know, tons of footage to kind of mess with. These are all different music videos that I filmed over the course of years. We have some as far as like super old ones. Let's go ahead and actually pull this up first. This is going to be off the Panasonic GH5, so this is kind of a mixture between some GH5 or like 10-bit footage and also 8-bit footage. Turn that music down just a bit. Just let me know if that's too loud in the background as well. I just wanted to have something so that way it wasn't super quiet, you know. But this is a shot on the GH5. I want to say like, man, 7 years ago or something like that. So if you guys are working with an old camera, this is really like what you can expect. I mean, I know like the performance shots are going to be in 10-bit. And then, of course, like the, what's it called? The slow motion shots or whatever are in 8-bit. So those ones we can kind of like work with and hopefully show off what that looks like. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and go through some of this and, yeah, show you guys what we're doing. Let's go ahead and pick out real quick some of my favorite clips that we can mess with as far as color goes. When I originally did this video, I did this whole crazy shift from blue to red. So he wanted this look where he had... everything blue is pretty much red and everything is like black and white, so only like kind of selective color stuff or whatever, and that was pretty cool. So we'll see if we can kind of replicate that, but maybe in a different way. Let's definitely go ahead and grab that shot here. Maybe some of the detail shots, maybe this one. I mean, it's kind of similar, but I'll show you how to like copy the look over or whatever, so that way you guys can, you know, see that too. We'll get this so I can show you guys some skin softening stuff too. And then we need some other type of look as well. I think these ones we just went black and white. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take this one too. Alright. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with these colors here. If we're looking at this, so this is not like what I'm actually used to nowadays. Nowadays I'm super spoiled by like S-Log3 and stuff like that. As far as like only touching S-Log3, only touching like red raw footage or whatever, just because it's what allows me to actually push an image. Because if I'm working with like, I don't know, like this for instance, I think is like Cinelike D or something like that, so lots of this information is kind of caked in. I like those flat profiles, so that way like if we're looking over here, we wouldn't have like a waveform like this, it would just be kind of condensed. I'll kind of show you actually real quick, so let's look at some other footage real quick. Just a side-by-side, compare it. Let's go ahead and just grab some red raw footage. And this is a color managed workflow, so it's going to change it a little bit. If it wasn't for this, let's see if we go into project settings, color management, DaVinci YRGB, and let's go ahead and just change this to Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. And then let's see, we're looking for let's see, the same thing, Rec 709 204, save. So this is what the actual red raw footage looks like straight out of camera. Very flat, very uninspiring, I guess you could say. But, you know, looks good. I like that. I prefer that over the caked on-ness of the footage or whatever. So let's go ahead and just take this. Let's go ahead and go back into our project manager. or not project manager. Let's go ahead and go into project settings. Let's see, color management, change this back into DaVinci YRGB color managed, and then from here though I'm going to go into HDR and change this to let's see, HDR X709. No, I need HDR. And what, HDR LG, SDR X709, I guess. Let's go ahead and just save. And then from there, though, it's going to go ahead and correct this into a correct looking image as far as like kind of Rec 709, just because it's going to know that it's red raw footage. Alright, so let's go ahead and, like I said, color these shots here. So first things first, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that there's some overexposed areas. I mean, even on my monitor, it's not the best, but you can see it. Like this light is kind of blown out here if you hover the cursor over this. It allows you to actually see what's going on. Let's see. Alright, there we go. Alright, so first things first, I like to create a node. I mean, this information probably is lost, but what I can do is start with our first node here. I like to go ahead and we'll name this highlights. Label highlights. Alright, and then from here though, we can go ahead and go into our HDR wheels, and if we hit this panel here up top, we can access our highlights over here. If we hit this button after we hit Shift H, then click it, it'll like open up kind of like a highlighter view is what this is called. So this allows you to actually see what isn't being selected as far as your highlights goes. So we're looking at it, I mean, like some of the skin tones are overexposed as well, but we can hover this above it. It's not too crazy, but we still probably will select maybe some of it, at least a bit of her shoulder, and some of that light and some of that background, so that way we can go ahead and recover some of that information. If we're working in like Red Raw or like S-Log3 that was exposed really nicely, you don't really have to worry about this, but then this information, I don't know, it looks like it's lost, but like I said, this was shot forever ago. Let's go ahead and take this down. If you pull it down, you can kind of get some of that back, and we get kind of some of that color. And then also, like I said, some of that like sting out of everything, but then I kind of like the shininess, so actually what we're going to go ahead and do is see if we could turn this back on. Let's see, Shift H, and then we're going to go ahead and actually see if we can deselect some more of the highlights. Now it looks like those are coming along with it no matter what, but let's go ahead and just do something like that. Let's see, full screen it, taking that punch out. It's looking good, and then of course we have all this stuff on the side. So what we can do already as far as it goes, I'm going to add a few extra nodes just in case I need them, and I'll kind of show you as I actually build it out. But first things first, I'm going to go ahead and kind of isolate by using masks. What this will do is kind of create a shape over our artist and our subject in order to hopefully isolate them and help bring them out. And then also, since we're doing this kind of near the beginning, we can kind of see how this affects our image as we're making the other changes to the image. But then from here though, I did go ahead and actually invert this right here. I go into my primaries and I'll go ahead and actually drop the gamma. This is going to make it a lot smoother around. I'm going to go ahead and feather this out like crazy, just so that way it is a little smoother, and I'm just trying to get this really nice. I'm going to go ahead and smooth this out even more, crunch it in more, and see how it's like drawing the attention away from the sides, and actually even helps bring in some more detail with the actual lights as well. Not too bad. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this here. My bad, I just gotta make sure it's nice. Alright, just had to make sure my audio is working. Alright, so then I'm going to name this window. Alright, so what I want to do now is kind of like, if you look in the bottom of the ground, it kind of like is messy. So what we can try to do is come into here. I'm going to go ahead and go into like a node kind of later in the node tree. Then from here though, if we go into qualifications, we can go ahead and select it. Shift H as well. This is going to kind of pull up what we're seeing, and then at that point we're kind of getting a good key as far as everything goes. We're getting some stuff on them, but that could actually be to our benefit. I'm going to increase the blur a little bit and increase the denoise. Maybe not denoise that much, because you can see it kind of coming onto her shoulder, just barely there. Cool. And then from here though, we can go ahead and hit Shift H, and what we can do is we can decrease the saturation, which is going to obviously decrease saturation, but we're not getting the entire background. So what I'm going to do is grab the plus and come into here, and we're getting some of them, so we're gonna go ahead and actually change the qualification, take out some of the darkness from it. And we're kind of getting somewhere, but not really. Let's go ahead and soften the shadows a bit, and just see if we can get a little bit of a feather like that. Shift H, and then we kind of get all that color out. It looks like all that red's out of where we're looking at. And you can see this here as far as our histogram. You see how with this off, we see all this red up here. All the red, then we turn it on, boom, it kind of goes into a white state, and it kind of gets us a clean white here without being too destructive towards the image. And then of course, you know, if we need to, we can always increase like the denoise a bit, and we can also come in here and maybe even take some mid-tone detail out, which will actually, because like I mean the photography backdrop was a little bit crummy, so this will actually smooth out around them and then also the ground a bit, so that way we can get a lot more out of this and make it look a lot cleaner, all just within the color grading. Of course, you know, you have to go through and actually make sure it's not affecting the image. You know, you're not seeing like any kind of like, you know, stuff or whatever. So we got like a pretty clean shot. That's not bad. And our actual mask and window helps for the most part throughout the entire video. What I can go ahead and do now, let's go back into a different section. I want to find, I should have marked where I was, but oh well. I mean, I guess that kind of works, right? Well, let's pull it out, do something like that. This is our grade so far, before and after, so we're just kind of working our way through different issues. What we can do here is I can hit Control P. Control P, I think. Nope. Alt P. There we go. Alt P. Alt P to add a parallel node. What this is going to do is actually work in conjunction with this node here to, like, you know, work with colors and different things. Although I don't think it'll matter too much, because we're just going to go ahead and actually qualify the skin tones now. That way we can go ahead and actually get something clean here. I'm going to go ahead and expand the width here. It's going to grab the lights. I don't mind it, honestly, because all I'm going to do is like change the actual hues of it, and if the skin tones and lights match, it kind of actually will make the video look pretty nice. But here we can actually change like saturation and stuff like that for the skin tones, or if we really want to, we can actually come into here and actually decrease mid-tone detail a bit, maybe like minus 20, 25. And then from there, though, it's going to actually soften that skin on both of them. So that way we get like more of a smooth effect as far as like everything goes, and kind of gives it a nice look to it. Let's go ahead and go back real quick. I want to add some more contrast on these, the third node here. And then if you look here, we are losing these highlights, so we can try to hop back into node 1. And this is already like trying to recover like nothing. Like I said, the information's kind of gone, so we kind of got to let it go. Like I said, this was shot on a Panasonic GH5 like 7 years ago by myself. And yeah, this is before I like knew about log, and I did not have Vlog at the time either. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and change this contrast real quick. We're gonna make this really punchy. I want to give a clean ass look to this, but without making it too crispy on the head. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at his forehead. I'm looking at her detail as well. And this kind of brings out a lot. It makes those blacks pretty black, and then also makes those whites pretty white without actually losing too much. But like I said, that light's kind of gone, but that's pretty clean. One thing I like to do as well, I mean, if you guys have ever watched like an actual like other live stream that I've done before, I love adding in glow. Glow to me is like, it's just so nice, you know. It helps the light do what the light does, you know. Kind of removes that video aspect to it ish, but you know, I don't know. So we're gonna go ahead and take this, drop the glow onto node 9 for this situation, and then from here though we can go ahead and hit advanced controls, go into composite type, and then go ahead and change that from add to soft light. It's gonna look a little crazy. You're gonna look at it like, whoa, what just happened to my image? I need this fixed like right now. We can change the shine threshold, pull this back a bit, until it looks a little bit right, and then from there though we can tweak some other things. What this is doing is kind of like making some blooms and like adding like additional contrast to where like it detects light. So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it's just so nice. We can pull down the gain a bit, just so that way those highlights aren't too crazy. Maybe push up the gamma, pull it back, maybe push it up. Just play with it. We can keep the saturation as well, because it looks kind of nice on it, as far as like that orange glow to the lights. And I'm overall pretty happy. So far, this is our grade. One thing we can do as well, like I said, in the original video, I changed the suit from blue to red. Let's go ahead and see if we can do that right now. What we can do, I mean, we do have our qualifications on this one here, but I'm not sure if I want to do it here. But we're going to go ahead and try. We're going to go ahead and Alt-P one more time. If we go into our qualifications, we can go ahead and select our blues. Shift-H so that way we can go ahead and actually see what we're selecting, because otherwise, you know, we're just clicking on nothing. But now we can go ahead and go through. I click the plus icon and just add additional pixels to this so that way it knows what we're trying to select. And I'm just trying to get as much as I possibly can into this. I'm going to go ahead and expand this and pull this until I get it somewhere clean. Messing with my saturation, messing with my luminance right now, just so I can see what I can grab. I think that's pretty much all our blues here. Let's go ahead and just open this up some more, just in case. Nope. This one, nope. And like I said, it's kind of like just messing with some sliders a little bit, just so that way you can kind of see what is looking like some push-pull type situation. But we don't need all that extra stuff on the side. Let's go ahead and see if we can find a different version of this where less of that stuff is in. Let's take this, let's decrease the width, take the center. Yeah, something like that's going to have to be it. We can try to come in here and clean black a little bit, and that's going to get some of that out. Add a little bit of blur, add a little bit of denoise. There we go, and then let's go ahead and Shift H real quick, and then from here though we can go ahead and go into hue, and we got an easy, like, you know, color change switch. Of course, now that we see the color change, we're going to go ahead and actually have to adjust it so that way we can make sure that it looks crispy and clean and not like it is superimposed. We'll do something like that, but like I said, as you can see, some of this here, which is going to be probably that clean black or clean white, not all the way through, so we can mess with this to give it a better edge. And then we can also shrink, just play with this to see what we can do to get it as clean as possible. I'm just messing with my blur, denoise, a bunch of different things, black clip, clean black, in order to try to get as little of a line as possible, because obviously that is what gives it away as far as, like, you know, a color change. I'm trying to see, that kind of works. Introduces some blue, hopefully not everywhere. And then one thing we can do as well is if we add another node here, we can go into our curves, hue versus saturation, and then from here though we can go ahead and select our blues, zoom out a bit, and then from here though I'm going to go ahead and actually just desaturate all my blues right here, and then that way, like, any extra blue pixels that are in here won't actually remain, because I'm going to go ahead and actually take that out right here, you know, non-existent. Let's go ahead and move those pinks a little bit and just try to make this a little bit more granular. We're still getting like a nice, like, little crispy edge on him, which I don't like, but we're going to go ahead and see what we can do to kind of get rid of that if we can. Let's see. I mean, I probably can do this through something else. Let's see. Let's go through qualifications. Turn off the highlighter. I need to look. Let's see. Let's look at his shoulder here. Clean black. Let's just pull that back. Clean white. Honestly, it looks like that's better. Yeah, not really giving me what I want with that crispy edge. Whoosh, take away all that shit. Whoa. Add some denoise. Post filter. Yeah, I can't really get it out, but we'll kind of keep it like that for now. Give us that red suit, and then we can actually even come into here and either increase or decrease saturation. Let's see. I mean, the increase look all right. Kind of has to match the amount of the gold, but maybe we can do something a little more desaturated. And then push it into a different realm, closer to those blues. I guess not too bad. That's not too bad. And it's kind of clean, it's subtle, you know. You can definitely still see that halo effect around him. And then of course, like, since I didn't shoot it at a higher shutter speed, you're gonna get that kind of motion blur or whatever around him. If he moves his hands too crazy in front of him. I need to see, let's see. Alright, let's go ahead and take this. This is our glow. Let's go ahead and go back real quick. Let's see, what else do I want to add? Let's see if it's to the image as far as the color grade. So I think that's kind of like our clean look as far as like, you know, it's clean. Like if we want to go with this, we could. We can definitely give it to them. Let's see, shift it. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what we can do as far as adding a grade to it. One thing I like to do, like I mentioned before, is come into here as far as the RGB mixer. It's a good way to kind of like reset your colors and get them into a different form factor as far as like changing the shade of it. So like if we move our reds, this will do that. But let's go ahead and actually do this after our selections, just because of course we've already done our qualifications on the nodes before, you know, right here. And at that point, if we, you know, make the changes before it, it's going to mess up these qualifications. So we need to do it afterwards. So let's go ahead and come into here. I'm going to, let's see, take this. Let's go ahead and go into here. Select this, and this is just going to be in order to get it a little bit more close to what we want as far as like the hue and tones of everything, and it kind of helps add saturation in different ways. So we're gonna go ahead and actually increase the reds a bit, maybe not that much, but pull it back a bit, mess with the greens. So if you pull it, we can kind of see what it's doing. So it is messing with the golds of this shot, so we can mess with the greens a little bit in order to try to get a more rich gold out of this. So I think that's what's going to make it actually pop. So that's what we're looking like. Let's go ahead and take the blues. That's when we get some crazy saturation out of it. Let's see the opposite end. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and park it somewhere right here. I'm kind of just going by taste, like what I like. Sorry, dry throat, need water. But yeah, so as far as what I like, but that's just what this one node does. You see how we brought like more reds out, and it looks pretty clean. Let's go ahead and see. Man, I really wish, because I'm not liking this at all, man. This is not it for me. Let's go ahead and just reset everything real quick. I need to figure out how I can get less of this in here. Not that for sure. Clean white. Nope. What, shrink? Nope. Grow? Kinda. Alright, just a little bit of blur, a little bit of denoise, like just barely. I'm talking 0.02 or some shit, you know? Alright. Okay, we won't be too caught up on this, because I can't get that to go away. I wish it was shot with a different shutter speed. If you're shooting in these situations where you do want to change like the color or something like that, what I would recommend is just crank that shutter speed up a little bit more, and then at that point you could re-add motion blur in the, you know, in post. Looking at this too, I'm looking at that window. I mean, it's pretty gone, but oh well, who cares, I guess. But what we can do too, with the same window, if we add a blur, because I mean all that outside stuff is not really it. We're gonna add a zoom blur. Obviously that's crazy, so let's go ahead and do a zoom amount just a little bit, and then that way it kind of adds a little bit of an effect everywhere else except for what's in the center, which is of course our artist. That's who we want to actually be in focus, you know what I'm saying, have all the attention. Obviously she's a part of it, but then we don't really necessarily need her to be, you know, the highlight of the show, you know. So that's pretty clean right there, honestly. That's pretty clean. Yeah, I don't know what else I would do this shot. How would you rate it, guys? Rate this shot here. This is the before and then the after. How we feeling? And then honestly, even if we wanted to, we can add, like I said, we can add even some more sauce to this. Let's say we're gonna add like a little color grade to this. I can come into, like I said, I don't want to add it before all of this because it's going to mess with everything. So let's go ahead and come into here on our after bit. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the shadows. Let's see, just messing with this. I'm gonna go ahead and push some color into it. Maybe some warmer, you know, shadows. Since we got the warm lights, we don't want it necessarily to be cool. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and check the highlights. Messing with this. Don't want to make it too warm, but we can always pull this back too. I'm just trying to make more of a grade out of it. I'm looking at the midtones now, so I'm looking at just skin tones. I'm going to go ahead and move this gamma wheel wherever I need it to be, so that way I can go ahead and actually get it pretty nice and kind of neutral, because I'm looking at the skin tones. But you see now with those, I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit more green, but we're adding like kind of more of a gray to it all, and then that way it's not, you know, neutral, I guess. But also our skin tones, what we can do is come into here and go into our vector scope. We'll pick our qualifications right here, our qualifier, and hover above it. It looks like the skin tones are way on the green side. So here's where we have our qualification here with the skin, and this is where this comes into play. We're going to go ahead and hop back right into this node. And then let's go ahead and actually label these two. My bad, I know I'm bad with this. So let's go ahead and say skin. This is reds, or, oh no, this is blues, blue qualification, blue to red. This is our whites. Whites cleanup. Alright, and then this is contrast. This is highlights, we got that, and this is a RGB mixer. This one was, what, our grade. Grade, or actually we'll call it our look. Just look. There we go. This is, I can't even remember what it is, honestly. I'm looking at it, I don't know to tell. See, that's why you label your shit beforehand, so that way you don't, you know, get lost in the sauce later. I'm just going to leave that note here. I'm not even sure what it is. But yeah, so it's pretty much this shot here. This is, like I said, the before and after. How we feeling? Oh, like I said, okay, let's get the skin tones correct, my bad. Let's grab that shit. Let's go ahead and actually come into here. Let's Shift H it. That will allow us to see down here in our vector scope as far as what this looks like. And then from here, though, we can go ahead and, change it a few different ways. We can remove some green from the gamma right here to kind of push it more into the red. We can Shift H it, and just a little bit fixes it really nicely. You know what I'm saying? You can see, like, in her skin tones here. So this is before, after, and then from there, though, it kind of allows you to, you know, get better skin tones with that vector scope very, 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 very easily. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this shot, before and after. Boom. And then from here, though, I think we have, what, some other shots. So if we come into clips, we have some other shots in this realm too. And so now that we've done this grade on this clip here, we can click these, see that they're not necessarily done, but since it's kind of, you know, same space, same lighting, I didn't really change much. You can go ahead and click all of these by clicking the last one, Shift, click. And then from here, though, if you click the middle mouse wheel button on the clip that has the grade, it'll go ahead and copy that grade over to all of your clips, right? Just very click. So now we can turn this up, and immediately we have that grade on this shot as well. That white gets cleaned up very nicely. It's not as dramatic because the lights are a little bit different, but we get that very clean look. Obviously, there's some issues as far as like some of this goes, so we can come into here, Shift H, and pick up our qualifications. So just make sure that we reselect our skin tones, and this will be just kind of a re-clean up for each and every single node if you need to clean up per individual shot. But we can come into here. Let's go ahead and change our, maybe our width. Change the center. We're looking for just those skin tones, but it looks like we're probably not going to get away with it. And it looks like we're probably going to pick up a lot of that background too. But doesn't mean we can't try. Looks like luminance helps a bit, but not too much. Alright, let's go ahead and Shift H it. We're losing that somewhere else too. Let's go ahead and leave that here. Where are we missing this? Let's go ahead and Shift H. Oh, okay, cool. So the whites. So we're going to go ahead and actually take away from our white cleanup here. Make sure that that's not touching any of his skin. Just because, of course, it's going to create those weird desaturated areas. But that's pretty clean. I'm looking down at his shoe. There's some pixelation, which means if there's pixelation down there, there might be some somewhere else. But we can hit Shift H and see if we can maybe increase the denoise a bit. And then from there, we kind of got a nice clean look to it, you know? Not too bad, not too bad. By the way, how's everyone's night going so far? Pretty cold out here, and I'm out in Colorado, so it's pretty cold. I'm actually getting hungry right now. I need to eat some dinner, man. I'm tripping. I need to eat. Let's go ahead and take this real quick and just look at these other shots real quick just to see what we're looking like. But yeah, pretty easily we're able to copy that grade over to all those shots and get a really clean look out of it all. like very, very quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into something else real quick. So those are our, 8-bit shots, or like I think those are 10-bit GH5 or whatever. But then the slow motions, I think like this one is definitely not. So even looking at that, we see a lot of issues as far as like the exposure. Let's go ahead and hop into the waveform here, and then from here we can actually hop into our very second node. Just go ahead and hop into HDR. I'm going to go ahead and actually change the global exposure down a bit, and then also I'm going to go ahead and actually hop into here and grab the gain, pull it down a bit, come into here, maybe raise the midtones, raise the shadows of this a bit. I'm going to go ahead and try to find a decent balance to where I'm not destroying anything, but her shoulder looks lost. Real quick, so how you can check this, I'm going to go ahead and slide this over. I don't know why it won't let me grab my nodes. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Grab this. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and select these real quick, turn this off. So yeah, looking at the waveform before I make any of my changes, that shoulder's already lost, unfortunately. Like I said, this shit was shot a long time ago, but I am going to change my contrast. Take out a lot of contrast from this, and all I'm looking right now is just trying to save the shot. Go ahead and see if I can add the shoulder here into this, and then that way I can get some of this gone. But I'm really looking at, okay, so that's what's causing some of that here, that white cleanup. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this one on this one because I don't really need that here. And then this is smoothing the skin since it's a little closer. I'm going to reduce that mid-tone detail a little bit more. Go ahead and actually create a softer look for us here. Not too bad. But then from here though, I do need to come into here and go into vector scope. Check the skin real quick. I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift H. And you can see it here. It's actually not too bad. I'm going to make it a little bit more green. We'll make this bigger. So that's what we're looking like before and after. And then that way that kind of fits into the entire theme of the video. Makes it really clean. Obviously just some like crazy overexposure. But the jewelry, the skin looks really nice, and the blacks look really nice as well. Yeah, so not too bad. Alright, let's go ahead and hop into some other shots real quick. Those were some indoor studio style shots on the Panasonic GH5. Let's go ahead and hop into some Red Komodo. I think that would be fun. Or should we do, let's see, maybe some Sony A7S III footage first. Those are Red Komodos as well. Let's go ahead and hop back into here. Let's see, let's go ahead and do some of these ones real quick. Okay, not letting me grab shit. Okay, then it let me grab it later. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. Take this into here. Let's go ahead and actually delete this clip, which was the shoe. Let's go ahead and select these. I'm just going to color these just so that way we know what it was, and that way we're moving on past it. Let's go ahead and select these ones. Let's go ahead and go into clip color. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to yellow, or actually shit, since it's outside and sky shots and stuff like that, I'm changing to blue so that way we know. This is shot on the Sony A7S III S-Log 3. This is going to actually be some super flat footage, and I'm going to show you how to actually convert this since we are in a color managed workspace that you see here. DaVinci YRGB color managed. That just means that DaVinci Resolve is going to figure out what camera it is, and it's going to actually use that information to transform it into like a really solid Rec 709 look straight out of the actual software, so that way you're not responsible for it. Here though, just to show that it is S-Log 3 in this workflow, is go ahead and select your clips, go ahead and right click, and then from here, I think you can do it in here, maybe it's the clip color. Let's go ahead and go into the color page. Then from here though, we're going to go ahead and select our clips, right click, and then we're going to go ahead and click input color space, and we're going to go ahead and select Sony. Mine was shot in S-Gamut 3 Cine S-Log 3. Select it, boom, and immediately we get a shot like that where it looks a little bit more correct. Not too bad, not too bad. That's going to be for all of our shots now that we have that selected, and that way everything looks pretty good. But you can see here, like, the sky is darker here, whereas this sky was brighter. So I'm going to show you guys how we can actually work with that to hopefully shot match that too between those. What up, GFX? How you doing, fam? How you doing? How you doing? Hopefully you're getting some good information. How's your night, fam? Let's see. Let's get this going real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and do this one, I think. Let's pick a hero shot. I'm going to look for a shot I like a lot. Just scrubbing through this, Trying to find something where it's like, yeah, there we go. Like that, there we go. Alright, so this is now S-Log 3. This is where we can actually have like a lot of fun with coloring, because this is 10-bit now, and this is nice, man. That Sony A7S III is nice, nice, nice. Clips looking nice. Damn, appreciate you, fam. Yeah, did you see these ones here? This is our last grade. This is how this grade turned out. A little before and after. Did some blues to reds and stuff like that. Adding some glows and some zoom, blur on kind of on the end of it. It's pretty clean. Let's go ahead and go back into this clip. Which one was it? This one, this one, this one. Towards the beginning. We're just looking for that full body shot. That's kind of clean too. Okay. Alright, so looking at this, I'm going to go ahead and go into my waveform first. I'm looking at my exposure. It is a little bit on the bright side, but it's not too bad. It's kind of even. I'm going to add a few nodes here just so that way I can actually see what I'm, going to do. I'm just going to add as I go to it. We don't really need any highlight recovery, so I'm going to go ahead and actually hop straight into my exposure. I like to do this through the HDR, High Dynamic Range, color wheels section. And then from here, though, if you go into the top, we're going to go ahead and click over here on this top section. You're going to go ahead and see the highlights. Then from here, we hit Shift-H. Oh, wait, I'm not even doing this shit. I'm tripping. Okay, my bad. I'm going to grab the global exposure, turn this down. And right now, I'm just looking at the sky and everything. So just cook with me real quick. I'm going to bring this way, way down. And so obviously, that's way underexposed. But then what we can do is actually like kind of play into that, right? So now that we have all this information, none of this is clipped, right? So now we can come into here. We can change like our lights in the high dynamic range. Shift-H. We can change this, and this can actually add a punchiness to it that we didn't get before. You know what I'm saying? Just towards the highlights, we can come into here too, maybe do the shadows just a bit, and then decrease the darks a bit too. So this gives us a little bit of contrast right here. Shit, colors laid to the gods. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I try, man. I try. I think it's more of like an eye thing, but I think it's just so much like I need to find some 8-bit footage, honestly, man. If I could find some of that and show you like how I troubleshot that shit for so long, like it really helped me like build some like skills as far as like creating, creating looks, So we're looking at this. This isn't too bad. We get that highlight. We get that punchiness, but obviously it's a little dull looking. From here though, we're gonna go ahead and add another node. We're gonna go ahead and come into here, label this just like contrast. Push. Contrast, push. This one is just exposure. There we go. Perfect. Take this. I'm going to go ahead and actually change this from color space into HSV. That's going to be hue, saturation, and value. It's 3 different channels. And then from here, though, if you right click it again, you can go into channels. We're going to go ahead and change off channel 1, which is the hue. And then also go into channels and change off channel 3, which is the values portion, which leaves only saturation active. And then from here, though, we can go ahead and actually hop back into our primaries panel and add saturation in a very natural way. If we just increase the gain here, now that we did that, it's going to add very nice saturation. And from here, if you go into vector scope, you can actually see your colors. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up pretty big, change it into 1 scope just so I can see what I'm doing, and increase this to give it a way punchier look, and we can see exactly how far we're pushing our colors, and we don't want to push it past these barriers here because then at that point we're going to lose some stuff, but that's a little too crazy. I'm going to pull it back just a bit, but then that kind of gives us a nice little look to it, and then that way we're starting to get our colors and our punchiness. So just within these 3 nodes, this is what we're looking like, and you see how we're like kind of like bringing him out of the background. We're just getting started. I'm gonna show you guys some crazy shit on how we actually get this to like really pop. Alright, so this was what, saturation set, I'm just gonna call it. Let's go ahead and take one of these nodes here. This is going to be probably a blue hue change, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this with the RGB mixer. If you click up here, and then from here though, on the red output, if you hit this auto normalize, it's going to help us make some changes without messing up the colors too bad and keep things kind of level, Then from here though, we hit green input, blue input, and that's auto normalized on all of these at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and actually mess with my blues first. I'm looking for a teal in that sky. I really want to see what I can get from a natural, like maybe even like not a teal, like a cyanish I don't know, something like that. So I'm looking at skin tones, I'm looking at this, but I'm looking for my blues kind of right now. And then from here though, you can go into the reds and then change this to kind of see what you can do to recoup some of that skin tone back. And then we need to change this too. Like I said, we're really trying to push this, but also keep it so that way that skin tone is not lost. Because right now it's looking really, really, really red. But we can also qualify it too and change it up. Something like this maybe. Let's go ahead and actually add a node before this, Alt S. And then from here, I want to go ahead and actually qualify the skin first. So if you go into here, we're going to go ahead and qualify the skin, Shift H. It's going to allow us to see it. I'm going to go ahead and change the center a little bit, change the width, and I am just trying to select as much of the skin tones as possible without getting anything else involved. Luckily we're in 10-bit footage so that we can actually, you know, work with that. Hey, Stone Peach Party, how's your night going? Appreciate you coming in for the live stream. Hopefully eating some delicious dinner, because I know I am hungry. I gotta eat some food, you know, I'm hungry. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and select that. I'm looking at this, I'm changing my luminance, I'm trying to just select, like I said, as little as possible from everything else, but it looks like that's probably what we're going to get away with. If we add some denoise, add some blur radius, I'm looking at the blacks too. I really don't want like the mustache hairs, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can take that back. Shift H again. This looks crazy as hell right now, so we're going to go ahead and kind of, you know, mess with this. What am I going to eat? I'm going to eat those wings that I said I was going to eat earlier, but then, you know, the live stream had to take priority. But yeah, I'm going to eat those wings. I'm probably going to make some taco meat too, eat some delicious ass tacos, so that way I can be nice and full. But I don't know if it'll beat that dinner from last night. It was good. Alright, so with the skin tones qualified, we can go ahead and actually come into here. We can go into gamma red, so we're going to go ahead and try to move that towards the opposite, which is going to be green. And it's like kind of greenish bluish, so I'm just like working my gamma wheel just a little bit towards this color, just so I can get these skin tones to kind of act right, because it's kind of crazy. Yum, yeah, appreciate it. What did you eat? I'm very curious. Tell me some delicious food story. Alright, so we grab that, pull it back, look how nice that looks now, and then also we can go ahead and actually hit Shift H, and look at this. I mean, like, we're looking at it, it's like way off the skin tone line here, which is kind of weird, because it looks nice on my monitor, but we kind of got to listen to that, so we're going to kind of push it back. Why does it look like all crazy? Like, why are we looking like that? Because yeah, it looks even on that monitor here. So yeah, I'm just going to stick with my eyes, pull this into my realm here, and we're going to ignore that skin tone indicator. You know, ignore it. Tacos sound hella good right now. Why the fuck? Damn. I need to just get off right now, you know what I'm saying? Make some tacos, those spicy tacos though. Maybe pull back the spice though tonight. Alright, it looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and actually click this too. I'm gonna go ahead and Alt P here, because I need to clean up. I need to also select our blues. For this one though, I'm not gonna actually do a qualification. I'm gonna go ahead and actually come into here and go into hue versus hue. Click this down here and select my blues. Obviously there's just a ton of blue in this image, and besides that some oranges and stuff like that. So if we come into here, I'm going to expand this a bit and change this hue. I'm going to go ahead and actually expand this a bit just to try to make it a little smoother, and I'm just barely going to mess with this to kind of push it into the realm of blue that I need to be more complementary for this shot. It's a little oversaturated though, so we can do as well as come into here, do hue versus saturation, select our blues again, and then from here also just pull this down just a bit, and that way we get it. Or we can kind of like make it compete with the red, but I think if we pull it back it helps make him pop more. And we don't want to do too much to destroy it, but at least just enough to make it look punchy, you know. Let's go ahead and add that little extra sauce real quick on the end. Glow, I'm going to add this into this. Barely could actually see it, so thank goodness. Change the thing from add to soft light, and advanced controls is going to, you know, make it look a little crazy. But then if we just change the shine threshold a little bit, so pull it back, we're going to have to pull it way back. We see a lot of saturation introduction, so I'm going to actually remove the saturation because I don't really want it to affect that. But then from here though, I'm also going to go back into waveform, because I need to make sure that this glow is not going to destroy my image, you know, and like push my highlights above the peak, which it looks pretty good. We can actually maybe even come into here, mess with the gamma a bit, recoup some of that information, but not too much, because I do like the idea of it being kind of punchy, but not bad. Let's mess with the spread. No, let's not mess with the spread. Let's just leave that shit the way it is, you know. Don't even have to touch it. All right, let's go ahead and pull this back, Shift H or Shift Z to make it back normal. So this is our grade so far. So some before and after. Like, you see how far we've come with just a little bit of work, and it just looks really nice. And of course, we can always take this grade to other clips. One thing I am looking at though is the reds. The red saturation is kind of crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and actually click where our blues were. Again, we're gonna go ahead and actually label this real quick. Blues. And then from here though, I'm gonna go ahead and come into here and label this skin. There we go. Label, and then I'm gonna go ahead and actually change this to RGB mixer. There we go. And then this is our glow at the end. Stay organized. I promise you, it does pay off pretty nicely. All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and take this real quick. Looking at things, I'm not noticing too many other issues. I do want to add some more texture to the image. What we can do for that, because I don't really want to add texture towards the back, but I want to add textures, right? So what we can do is, let's go ahead and actually move these nodes over. Let's go ahead and add a node here. I'm going to add a effect. If you come in here and do depth map, this is an intense effect, but it still looks pretty nice, you know. We're going to go ahead and do this real quick, and this is going to help us isolate the front from the background. I appreciate it, GFX, appreciate it. But yeah, depth map, do this. It's going to go ahead and actually add, like, I don't even know how to describe it, a matte, I guess, as far as like what's in the foreground and what's in the background, and we can always actually even isolate it further. So if we come into here, resulting map adjustments, we're going to go ahead and actually choose this and just mess with our near and far limits. Something like this. This doesn't have to be perfect, I'll show you why. But I do want to make it kind of soft and see if we can get some of that background out of it. From here though, we can do a lot with this mask here. If we turn off the depth map preview up here on top, a few different things we can do. So looking at it first off, I'm seeing just he looks a little pink or red. So I'm looking at it and I'm putting in some green, right? So if I come into here on my tint, I'm actually adding in some green. And then if you look at his jacket and everything else, it's pulling that out, you know what I'm saying? So if we come into here, now we're getting more of a natural look to it all. And you can even see it up here. I'm coming from the red way high, red way high up here, and we're pulling that down into a more manageable state. And now that we see that, we can actually even come into here and add this, and that's in the highlight section. So we're gonna add some more blue and mess with this just a bit to see what we can do to get this as even as possible. And then from here, boom, we got a clean, nice little look to it, and that kind of gives us a clean look to everything. What we can do from here, let's see, what would I want to do? Because looking at the shot, I mean, it's pretty clean like this. Like, look how punchy that is, you know? Punchy, that's crazy. Ooh, what a before and after, you know? Alright, so let's go ahead and hop back into the beginning though real quick. Let's see what else we want. Looking at the reds, let's go into our vector scope. The reds are kind of crazy, so let's go ahead and come into here, Alt-P one more time. Who is GFX asked, how do you get this shot? Was the sun behind him or in front of him? Did you have a key light? Yeah, so great question. So sun was actually, let's go ahead and Shift Z this. Let's actually Control F this. Come into a nice bit. Alright, something like this, whatever. Oh, come on, it keeps jumping around. There we go, that's clean. Alright, so sun was actually like back over here, so you can see like right here where the sun's hitting him. Like obviously this is like the brightest part of the image, so sun is actually camera right, very high. It was like very early morning as well, so sun was very high, very bright, and just smacking him here. But I had a big silver reflector that I had his friends hold, like really, I think it was like off to the side or something like that, you know. I think it was off to camera left here right behind me, just holding that up, bouncing that sunlight, direct sunlight back into his face, which gives you like a nice like clean kind of like a light, you know what I'm saying, outside. It's just like the nicest thing you can do for outdoor shooting is add some sort of reflector towards it, whether it be silver, white, or gold. It kind of depends on what sunlight's actually there, and also what skin tone you're working with, and what kind of look you want to achieve. Because in this situation, if I would have used like a gold reflector, it would have added like a really warm look to them, obviously, or whatever. And then from there, though, if I wanted to do like a white bounce or whatever, like it would just be pretty smooth, and the silver bounce would look really, really, really bright. Which this might have actually been just a white bounce, because if I use silver, it might have actually put like a crazier kick on his glasses or something like that, or something. But not bad. Let's go ahead and actually come in here. I'm going to select my reds. So if you come in here, hue versus luminance, I'm going to select my reds. One thing you can do to to make your colors look a little bit more cinematic, or cinematic. I hate the word, I guess, because it's just always overly used for making everything cinematic. It's kind of annoying. But we can come in here and change the luminance, and I'm looking at my vector scope. Looks like that's not even actually what our culprit is, but I'm still going to do it. I'm going to actually decrease the luminance of the reds, and that's going to actually make it a little bit more dense. Density kind of just helps bring a little bit more out of the color. Looks like I'm not even grabbing that shit. Let's see if we add more this way, more towards this. It's also affecting his skin tone, so I don't want to affect it too much. So this is after, before, after. Yeah, no problem, fam. Yeah, done that heavily, man. So it looks like maybe hue versus loom. Let's do hue versus saturation. Let's go ahead and select our reds and see if we can pull these down just a bit. Jeez, hopping all over the place. Pull these down. I'm just looking at this vector scope right now, pulling it down ever so slightly, but we're getting a lot of the skin tones in here too. So I'm going to click this actually and see if I can pull this over, make it a little gradual, but I'm not getting the skin tones desaturated. I'm just getting the reds. I'm looking at his lips and the hat right now, and that helps kind of like, reel it in. Looking at it though, it's not as, let's see, let's go ahead and go back into waveform. It's contrasty, but I feel like it could be even more contrasty. Sometimes people don't push looks, and yes, you can push looks. Where are all my fucking nodes? Why are these? It's like these nodes are like running away from me, man. Like, goodness. All right, let's go ahead and make this bigger. Pull this back. Shift Z. Get it back in, turn this back on, and then let's go ahead and go back into our, let's clean up node tree. There we go. Jeez. Pick this one. This is our depth map. What we can do too is if we add another node, now that we've actually made this, let's go ahead and actually pull this back up. You can see this mask here. What we can actually do is move this. If you click on the blue square right here, you can drag this here, which is the actual alpha channel, this mat here, into another node. So we're going to go ahead and drag this into the next node. It's going to go ahead and actually allow us to change the information. But rather than this, what I want to go ahead and do is come into here, the key, and actually invert this. Maybe if I can, wait, let's see. So let's try to, take this. If I create, add a node, add an outside, delete this node, there we go. I think then, let's go back into here, depth map preview. So I created an outside node from this node, which pretty much does the same thing. So I was going to go ahead and take that alpha channel into the next node of that. And then I'm going ahead and, since it's an outside, it should be inverted, the opposite of whatever the original node was. So since this one was him, this one should be the sky now. So if we come into here, yeah, so there we go. So let's say we change this. Now we have kind of a selection around him to add really whatever we want. So now we can even come into here and play with this a bit to add some unique color to the sky. And this is where our grade kind of comes in, so we can add some more warmth to the actual image with the, just the background. And this gives us a really, really, really clean look to it all. Also, I want to add on him too. This is the reason why I selected him in the general, is I want to add some more mid-tone detail to him. Not too much, like maybe 20, 25. And then from here, though, we can also see if we can add just a bit of sharpening. If we come into here, if you come into blur, we can add a little bit of sharpening just towards him. And then hopefully on the outside, what I can actually do is decrease the mid-tone detail a little bit by like 20, 25. And it's going to make that background a little bit blurry too, or maybe even 50. It's going to help with that, bokeh look to it all, without actually affecting the, the rest of the image, which is kind of nice. So this is what we're looking like as far as this color grade goes. A little bit before and after. Before, after. Kind of a crazy difference. Like it's kind of crazy. And then from there though, we can actually even come into here, increase the gain a little bit. Not too much though, because I don't want to push him too much. But we're just trying to pop him out as much as possible. And then from here though, with this outside node, what we can do too, for the background, is decrease the exposure a bit. And that's gonna make him pop out even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Like, come on. That shot is clean. I like that shit. This is like one of my favorite shots. I like this shit a lot. So that's pretty much it. That's how like I manually color grade the actual clip. Then from here though, we can do more too. Like, I mean, you could decrease like the the mid-tone detail on his skin too, if you wanted to. On guys, I don't really do it too often, but you can. It's not too bad. Alright, I think that's pretty much it with that shot. Let's go ahead and click this one and see if we can copy it over. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different, but I actually would try to match these. So if you come into here on the top, I'm going to go ahead and select both these clips. Pull this over real quick. And then from here, though, I'm going to go ahead and actually select this one first, then click the other clip that I just graded. It's going to allow us to bring us into this full screen view. And then from here, though, select the clips up top. You can see this active right up top as well. Appreciate it, GFX. Yeah, this shit is clean, man. I love this. The way this one came out. This was like a little like run and gun shoot too. It was pretty tight. But yeah, so now we're gonna match these. So we have our graphs over here. I'm looking at it. I'm gonna go ahead and move a little bit through it, just so I can see what this shot's looking like in comparison to the other one. And then that way I can get these as close as possible. So we're obviously looking at it, it's like way less contrasty, way different. So let's go ahead and actually clean up this, drag this over a bit without losing too much real estate. I just need to be able to see. So first things first, obviously this shot is way overexposed in comparison to the other one. So let's go ahead and go into our exposure node that we created before. Come into HDR and change the global exposure down. It's just lagging behind. Take it, drag it down ever so slightly. Exposure has a lot to do with your image too, so we're just going to darken this shit, because obviously I'm looking at the you can see literally right here as far as like how everything's looking, and I'm trying to match my scopes. This shit's going slow currently though because of the that depth map. That depth map is gonna make it shit go pretty slow, but right now I'm just trying to creep this shit up just a bit on all levels. Okay, then that shit jumps crazy. Alright, cool. That's not too bad. Not too bad, but yeah, it looks like the reflector wasn't smacking there, so I'm gonna have to find another shot in this clip where that reflector's hitting him better. But yeah, you see the difference right here? It's probably just that, because you can see the reflector in his eye right there and shit. And even this one, it's not hitting him as good, but you can definitely tell the difference between the two. Reflector right here, whereas like no reflector like hitting right here, as far as the sunlight goes. So yeah, just a big game changer for it, which will actually impact like our actual quality of shot matching, because it won't be perfect, but we can definitely try. So blues, first things first, I'm looking at this shit, it's definitely way less dense. So if you come into here, we can actually decrease the exposure a little bit of just the blues, and this will hopefully bring it a little closer to the other one. So this depth map is killing me right now as far as the performance goes. Let's see, let's go back into here. Global, I think that's what we're messing with. Blues, there we go. Go ahead and bring it back just a little bit. Won't push it too much. Turn it on and off. Alright, cool. So that's what we're looking like. Let's go ahead and turn this off. I think I know what I have to do. Let's go ahead and come into here. Let's go ahead and come into exposure. But I wish, like I said, that reflector was hitting, so it is going to impact the quality of it all. But we could come into here and change the shadows a bit, recover a bit of that, recover some of that gamma right here. And then we got a clean little shot. And then from here though, I probably increase contrast too overall. But that's pretty close. Let's check it out real quick again. see what we're looking like. And of course now computer's going slow. There we go, select the clips. Tripping, there we go. So yeah, that blue in the background is just super dark, which is nice, you know. But what we could try to do, let's see, I do have these things, let's see, for hues and like density. It's called a DCTL. Forget what it's looking like, DaVinci color table lookup or something like that. So I do have these here where I can change the density. I'm looking at my blues here, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually change the cyan and blue density to try to get a hold of that blue in the background and bring it as close as I can towards this here without destroying that blue image. Of course, with this being shot in 10-bit, it definitely helps out a lot, and you know, making that pretty clean. But yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad. And from here, we can click this one too. Color change. Looking at this one now, this one's obviously drastically different, but we can still use the other one as reference as far as like his jacket. We're not looking at the sky anymore as a reference. We're looking more so at his jacket as a reference for his image. And of course, since the reds and the greens in this image are a little bit different, we'll have to worry about that in a different way too, to be more complementary towards it. And since we have this background here, what I can do is actually change the gain here, but I can actually change what? Let's do with some offset maybe. I'm gonna inject a color. If this shit will show, I think it's just lagging. So what, warmer? No, probably not. Cooler. I'm just looking at this background right now moving. There we go. So yeah, something more neutral. If I can get this shit to act right. Let's go ahead and just take this off real quick so that way it's off both of them. And that way I can just work with one clip at a time. I'm just looking at this here. It's a little bit too blue. Let's go ahead and push that shit back. And it's a little too dark too. I don't need it to be that dark. Let's go ahead and go back into our waveform and change this to be a little bit something like that. And then also we can increase the gain, because we don't need it to be too dark behind it, but we do want it to be you know, just a little nice. I'm also looking at it, the reds look a little crazy, but I'm going to bounce between these two shots real quick. That's not bad. This one still looks a little bit pink to me. So what we can do is come into, we didn't make a node for that, but I'll show you guys this real quick. So we'll come right after the exposure. This is going to be more of like a balancing node. Looking at like the midtones, it's just like an eye thing right now, but also if you look over here on the waveform, you can see like the red over here is peaked over the green and the blues, which is just showing that there's too much red in the image over everything else. So what we can do is change that by pulling this back a bit, pulling those reds out, pulling it more towards the greens, and then also seeing what we can do to just neutralize it, so that way when we turn this on and off, yeah, it helps bring all that down, brings the red out a little bit, puts us more into a neutral ground. Since this one was neutral, that one's more neutral. And yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I mean, obviously this does have like a little bit of red in the clouds, but there's no clouds in this shot, so we don't really need that. It is a little bit warm in the shadows, so I'm actually going to add a little bit of something like this, just a little bit of like warmth, yellowish into the shadows. But this has to be like very subtle. Even that's a little too much with the red. A little too blue, and I'm just eyeballing this shit right now. But I do have a, you know, a light right in my face, so not the best way to color, if I, you know, can say, but still kind of, you know, it's whatever. But yeah, not too bad. I think that's good for that shot. Clean, man, clean. So this before, after, and then from here though, you can even do something crazy. Like I said, masking before is definitely a thing. So we can even come into here. We can select this. Let's say we even take this, just put it around our guy here. Increase the softness a lot. Make it a little bit bigger. Invert this, and then from here, I'm going to go ahead and actually decrease the gamma. This is going to create a nice little vignette around and hopefully draw some more attention towards him. And then we can also even, let's clean this out real quick. Right click add node, add an outside, and then from here though we can actually add just adjustments towards that middle section. And I'm looking at it, it looks a little too red. Go ahead and zoom in real quick. I'm going to actually change this a little bit in here. Add some more green. There we go. So even with just these two nodes here, helps get the skin tones a little bit better, but also helps draw in that attention right towards him. So yeah, not bad, not bad. All right, let's go ahead and move on to some other shots here. If anyone's in the chat you would want, let's go ahead and see. We got some nighttime shots. We got a rooftop shot. We got some Florida shots here, which is pretty cool for like some greens and stuff like that. Let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. Turn this off because this shit's acting a fool. Why is this not? Oh, Shift Z. I don't know where this is at, but this shit should be showing up here. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. All right, cool. So we got flats. So it gives us like really nice greens and blues to mess with and stuff like that. We have indoor, light style shots as well. We have outside graffiti shots. And then we also have like an indoor city styles, same type of look. So yeah, if you guys are in chat right now, which one would you want to see next? Because we did these ones so far as these grades. Let's turn this back on. We've graded all of these clips so far, and also these ones here. Indoor? Okay, tight. Good choice, good choice. Alright, let's go ahead and take these ones. Pull this into the timeline real quick. Go ahead and select these. We'll go ahead and go into clip color. I'm going to go ahead and just do these as yellow real quick. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the past ones by selecting a D. Let's go ahead and take those off. And then from here though we have the indoor shot here. This was also shot on the Sony a7S III S-Log 3. Go ahead and do some. I'm looking for a hero shot right now that I like. I want his eyes to be here. That's not too bad. Eyes to be here. All this shit to be here. Alright, let's go ahead and hop into color. Looking at the waveform so far, it looks pretty nice. Looks like we saved our highlights. We saved our shadows. Looks like a pretty healthy little waveform. It's not bad. Yeah, cool. So go ahead and actually add some nodes. Looking at it, obviously we have to tell the computer what color space we're in. So like I said, we're working in a DaVinci YRGB color managed workspace right now. So we go into File, Project Settings, color science appears, DaVinci YRGB color managed, and then from here though we also have HDR, and then we also have output color space here as SDRX709. Then we have to tell the computer, or tell DaVinci what clips these are and what color profile this actually was. So we select both of them, input color space, and then from here we're going to go ahead and go into Sony and do S-Gamut 3 Cine, S-Log 3, and we're going to look at it and we're going to see that, damn, that shit's bright. What the fuck happened? I'm just joking. Alright, so let's go ahead and take this real quick. Let's go ahead and hop into here and see what we can do to recover the shot. Luckily, like I said, it was shot in the good old S-Log 3. So I'm going to go ahead and actually take this and drop our exposure. Bring that way, 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 way down because I need to make sure that we're not losing it. One thing I like when I edit video is lots of people, for some reason, like think that they have to have like their blacks like super visible. So like they think they have to like this nighttime shot for some reason, like let's like up the lift or whatever, like no, not really. Why would we need to see what's out there? You know what I'm saying? Like in the night sky. So I'm kind of looking at that. We can look at our waveform here. If we bring it up and make it bigger, I'm pulling down the lift and we can crush a little bit of that black in there, Crush a little bit of it. Not too bad. I'm looking at that waveform, but we can definitely lose a bit of that. So that's our exposure, that's our blacks, and then we're also looking at the highlights right here. Looks like we're pretty good. I can pull this back a little bit, but I don't have to go too much. We'll worry about this a little bit later with the reds in a bit. So looking at it as well, one thing I do want to hop into immediately, because one thing that inspires me for color grading is, like I said before, that RGB mixer. This allows you to select your red, green, and blue hues pretty much throughout your entire image and change those at the same time, so that way you're able to actually like change like pretty much like your color profile as far as like how your colors actually show up in the image, and then you can actually build on that to color correct and color grade your image too. So if we click here, I'm going to do that in a later node. Click this one here, which is RGB mixer. Very important step. Click the auto normalize right here. We'll go ahead and click that. That's going to make sure, because like without it, if we move it, it's going to change just the blues and nothing else. So there's no real way to get the values back to where you need to make it even, unless you change it and then you're like, oh well, I need to change, you know, this and this. You know, it just kind of creates more of an issue. Whereas if you reset this and we hit the auto normalize, this is going to allow us to actually change this individually. So I'm looking at it. It's a little bit cool to me. One thing we can do too is maybe come back into the beginning, do our saturation node. So we'll do the same thing we did before, where we change this to HSV, change this into channels 1 and 2 off. So only, or channels 1 and 3 off, only channel 2 is active. We're going to go back into here, increase this. We'll go back into our vector scope. I just need to see how far I'm pushing this because the reds are already crazy. But we'll inject a little bit of saturation into this before we change our colors. We can look at this as well. Y'all in the chat, y'all better ask your questions, bro. Give a free game. Hell yeah, we got 4 people in here right now. So yeah, if anyone has questions, man, now's the time to ask, because I'm trying to help you guys improve your color game. I think color is very, very, very important with video. It helps bring shit to life, you know, in just a different way. So we're gonna go ahead and do this real quick. Like I said, we increase the saturation. We're in the RGB mixer. Got the auto normalize on, so I'm gonna mess with the greens first. It changes our reds and stuff like that, so I can pull this down a bit. I'm just looking at all this as a whole. Not much green to do, but we can add the reds for sure. See how we're like getting a little bit more punchy, but obviously this is going way out of bounds here, but we'll correct that later. Right now we're just more so looking at just the hue of it all, and making sure that the image is kind of complementary, you know. So if we push this, you know, it kind of goes towards either way. But I'm looking at skin tones right now, just eyeballing it. But with just this node, we kind of get more reds. We get like more of a glow from the actual warmth of the outside, because it's kind of what I want. He has like, you know, gold jewelry on, you know, like light skin, black, you know what I'm saying? Like with the gold, the greens, the gold and greens kind of like complement each other and help, you know, give it a different look to it. So that's just with that node there. But then of course we have to kind of get the reds under control. So we can go to a node before this, before we kind of destroy that. Coming to here, we're going to curves. Let's go ahead and do hue versus saturation. Go ahead and select our actual, let's see, let's go ahead and take this. I'm just going to select the hoodie itself so that way I can see it. We don't want to affect the skin tones too much. Let's go ahead and do something like this. Pull it way back. And let's take this down. I'm just looking at that on the vector scope so that way I can get a cleaner red. And it's not like overly exposed, because reds are like some of the hardest colors to actually take in by a camera sensor. And so you really want to protect your reds and use this vector scope to kind of get it under control. But it looks like everything's kind of way oversaturated, so we're going to try to tone it all down just a bit. We're kind of getting a range, but then there's some kind of from the back. Moving a qualifier around, I'm trying to look at that and also see where that's coming from. It could be like one of these like stray off lights or something like that, but I'm not quite sure what's actually creating. Maybe skin tones? Nah, I'm not seeing it. Alright, but that's that so far. Let's go ahead and actually come in the end real quick. Let's go ahead and add that glow in too real quick, just because that is going to affect how we overall view the image. So I'm going to go ahead and add that towards the end. Let's go ahead and actually label these before we get too far into it. So we got our glow node. This one's the RGB mixer. This one is, what is this? Our reds. Red sat. This one is saturation. Overall saturation. This one is our exposure. Perfect. Alright. Go into our glow. We have it already on there. Go into advanced controls. Change this into soft light. Looks crazy again. Let's go ahead and change that shine threshold, and then it's going to bring us back into life. It is adding, like, you know, with that saturation node, it is adding like some kind of like, I don't know, pinkish to it. That's why I changed this here. This is kind of where you can kind of change things. But you need to make sure it's actually complementary to your video and not destroying it. So you can click the color. And then from here though, you can actually change this to be whatever color you want. I like to add like a subtle color in whatever way looks nice. I'm looking at skin tones. I'm looking at his jacket right now. We're pushing it kind of crazy there, but we'll have to recoup that red somehow later on or in a previous node, maybe something like that. And then from here though, we can take the saturation down a bit more still because we don't need all that in there, you know. But that's going to help get our kind of contrast together and like really make it look a little bit nicer with a little bit of bloom. And if we wanted to, like I said before too, with that depth map, let's say we want to add some like really crazy nice sauce into this real quick. We can come in here again, do this depth map real quick. And then from here though, that's not too bad, but we want to make it a little nicer. Far limit and near limit real quick, and that's going to allow you to get a nice clean key. Damn, this one's gonna be nice. All right, so we take this. Let's go ahead and do something like this. Let's do ahead and isolate specific though real quick. That's gonna help us add a little bit of softness into the mix if we can. What is it doing? Probably because it's just too fucking cut off. Change with the far limit. Nah. Alright, there we go. So yeah, now we start to get some fall off, but I guess we don't really need it too much. Let's just go ahead and take this off, turn it off. Then from here though, we can go ahead and take this. Let's go ahead and right click on this, add an outside. So this is going to be our depth map. Depth map. And this is going to be the outside. Depth map outside. There we go. Alright, so we'll go ahead and take this real quick. And so now on the outside, we can mess with stuff and add a bunch of shit to it. So let's go ahead and see if we can add a glow. I want to see if we can add bloom. Messing with it looks like no. Oh, there we go. There we go. So we can do this. And then now, since we have it, it is just messing with the background. But we need to make sure that the spread isn't too crazy. Because it's going to grab everything. So we can do something like that. Looks like it's grabbing everything, even up front. Why is that though? Depth map. Because invert should be just the background of it all. Oh, is this inverted though is the question. Because it's the outside, right? Maybe this shit's just too crazy. Let's see. Yeah, it's just destroying that shit. Let's pull it back a bit. Pull this back. Pull the saturation back. It's on the money. I guess I don't mind it. The overall glow does kind of help bring it all together, but this kind of looks nice. Let's mess with the shine threshold just a bit more though. Add that blur, but that's looking kind of crispy. I can't lie, man. That's looking kind of crispy. Also depth map, we can kind of mess with everything. It's also oversaturated with this too, so we do have to figure that out and figure out how we can pull back our red saturation way the fuck back because it's bright. That's cool. Let's go ahead and actually go back past this, and we need to add a nice little mask around just in case as well. Something like this. I'd say invert it. Same thing as we did before, kind of like just that same thing as far as like creating like a nice vignette. But we don't want to crush the blacks too much. I want to soften this up a bit, make it bigger. Just helps bring a little bit less attention towards the bottom, more attention towards the top, you know. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I just need to see something. Not sure. Can you all hear the music? Is this shit playing? I'm trying to keep it a vibe. I need to get it on the actual computer though, so that way I can, you know, you guys can actually hear it. Sorry, trying to get this live back thing. All right, there we go. All right, Shift Z. All right, so when you go back into our waveform real quick, we need to look at this. So yeah, we're losing. This shit's just too bright. Overall too bright. That's more so what that's indicating over there on the waveform and that vector scope, I think. So we need to take this down. Actually, shit, I wonder if we can come into here. Let's add a previous node onto 1. This is going to be our highlight recovery node. If we come into here, into our HDR panels, highlights, Shift H, we're going to try to grab just those bits that are just so bright. Take it down a bit without too much because it is going to be a little crazy, but that does bring out the punch a bit. Not all the way though. I think we're going to have to drop, probably drop the gamma and then increase the gain, something like that. I think I need to just decrease this. Let's go ahead and come into here. I'm on the red one just because it's giving such an issue. Looks nice for real, for real. Appreciate you, Stone Peach. I appreciate it. Shit, next thing you know, we're gonna be color grading your streaming screens on here as well, you know? That way we can show them what snow color grading looks like. Alright, so that's pretty cool. This front depth map though, what I wanna go ahead and do with this here is add some more mid-tone detail. If we really push it, it looks crazy, but maybe like 25. Maybe 35, and then we get like more of that mid-tone detail right here too. So not too bad. Now the blacks though are kind of really crushed. So since with the vignette and all that shit, you know, it was kind of crazy, so we could bring back the shadows just a bit. Just a bit, so that way it's not too crazy. That's all the work our exposure node's doing right there. Thank goodness for 10-bit, just because you can do so much to the image, but that's not too bad, you know, it's not too bad. And then of course you can kind of scrub through it. And obviously we are losing a lot. We need to go back into glow real quick. Let's decrease the gain here, decrease the gamma, increase the gamma, decrease the gain some more. That shit is kind of a lot in the background. I'm gonna see if I can change this shine threshold just a bit. Okay, it's not too bad. Let's change this one a little bit too. Change the gain here. There we go. I think it was just that glow kind of creating some issues too. So let's go ahead and change this. Appreciate you sharing your knowledge, of course. Always happy to give it. Appreciate you being in here. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate your time. I hope you're having a great night so far. Hopefully on a very chill time frame. How do you guys like the Wednesday night streams? It looks like not as popular as the Monday night stream, but still hopefully we'll find our flow and we can kind of pick a different day if we need to. But that shot looks clean. We can also click this shot and switch over the color grade, and we're looking at it. It's going to be a little dark, but what we can do is increase this here, the gamma. And then that highlight is crazy, but we can fix that through the glow. And then also this glow and change this, something like that. And then from here though, we can go ahead and go back into our exposure, increase that gamma a bit, and then decrease those shadows a bit. And we get something like that. And then, yeah, some of these are dark. I mean, like obviously this is for like a music video shoot, so I would actually go through and I would clip by clip, you know, change this or whatever, because of course each shot is going to be a little bit different, and then it's your job to come through and actually balance this to look nice per shot, you know. But something like that looks nice. Obviously, like these back windows are kind of like, you know, these are blown out if we look here, but it still looks pretty clean, and I think that should carry across a lot of this too. Nice. Alright, cool. Let's go ahead and go back into here. Alright, so now those are the inside shots. Which shot should we grade for our last shot? We have these alleyway shots that we can grade. We have this indoor shot. It's like a party scene that we can grade. We have outdoor Florida shots that we can grade. These are kind of clean too. Or like, you know, kind of outdoor or whatever shots. Looks like a couple people are in here right now, so if you guys want to ask away, go ahead and let me know what you guys want to do. I'm going to take a second real quick because I've been, you know, yapping for like, I don't know, like an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes straight. But yeah, let me know what clips you guys want to see color graded next, and then I'm going to kind of wrap it up after that. If you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to ask as well, so that way I can hopefully help you guys on your color grading and color correction journey. And yeah, hopefully help you guys learn how to color grade more, or not even more, just better, you know. Especially in DaVinci Resolve, lots of people are kind of like standoffish on, you know, kind of getting into this. The software is really not that difficult to learn, but yeah. All right, I'm gonna give it a little bit longer. See if anybody's in here. If not, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this stream. But of course, I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have any questions, of course, feel free to drop it in the comments. I will come back and answer this on YouTube as well, so that way you guys can actually see, you know, answers to your questions. Especially if you guys are having specific problems with stuff, let me know. Also, if you guys have specific footage that you guys have shot on your own cameras that you guys don't know how to actually grade, feel free to let me know too in a message, and I can actually maybe even color grade that live and show you guys how I would color grade your guys' footage live on the actual stream. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't think anyone else is in here at the moment, but we did go ahead and actually color grade all these shots here. And yeah, that's pretty cool. If we go ahead and actually go into our color page, we can go into select all these, and then I think if you hit Lightbox, we can make it, and then we get all of our graded shots. Not too bad, not too bad. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate that. I am going to go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 9 p.m. until late usually. Just depends on, of course, the energy and how everything is going. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate that. Catch you guys next time.